Hey everybody, Dishadar here, and this video is issues with the harm none law. Now in Wicca there's such thing as the harm none law, which states, and it harm none do what thou wilt, which basically means that so long as you're not harming anyone as you live your life, or do any of your religious practices, or just daily living period, so long as you're not harming anyone, you're free to do as you will. But there's a glaring problem that I find within the harm none law, and it's just something that I see hasn't been addressed by the community at all. Not at all, but I see it as a problem that needs to be addressed. Uh, and that is the fact of farming and what we eat. Now, it doesn't matter if you eat meat or if you're a vegetarian, because both actually can impact the environment negatively, and it does impact the environment negatively when you with current farming methods. Now, if you consider animals, of course, if anyone has looked at any videos about where your food comes from, you'll see all kinds of videos about the suffering of animals, the abuses that they have to suffer through, beatings, and it's just cruel overall. And if you look at plants, the issue comes with pollution. Using pesticides, using fertilizers, using all these methods that once it starts raining, all of that stuff runs off into the water, and once it gets into the water, we drink it. It goes into various water-based organisms that we eventually eat, and it basically causes a cycle of harm both to the environment, to the animals in the environment, and to us. And I just believe that a lot of us are quick to talk about someone violating the harm none law. Oh, you shouldn't do this and that because of free will, or you're impeding on another person's right to live as they decide to. For those of you who actually believe in the practice of witchcraft, I personally don't. I don't like anybody who does. For those of you who practice and believe in witchcraft, this whole issue of can't do love spells, you can't give. For some people, actually say that you shouldn't do things like blessings because unless you get the permission of the person you're doing the blessing on. But that's subject to debate, I suppose. But it's something that I personally leave alone. But I'm just stating that for those Wiccans who actually practice witchcraft, that we're quick to talk about the obvious things that you know we that we say harms others or has an influence over others without their permission. Yet when it comes to what we eat, it seems to be just one of those things that we just leave alone. And even beyond what we eat, if you consider the pollution that we cause just from our cars and stuff. Now, of course, I know not everyone is financially able to afford a hybrid or an electric car, but if you consider the alternatives like riding the bus instead, perhaps even carpooling, walking if your place is that close, or riding a bike, something like that. And that's something that most people should be able to do because I know there's public transportation in most, if not all, places in the U.S. Not everyone may be fit enough to ride a bike to their job, or and it may be too far, and stuff like that. But most of us can take the bus, as far as public transportation. I personally do, but I'm just saying we can. Where, like, if you look on social media, you have a lot of people posting, tweeting, ready to complain and talk about global warming, and other environmental issues, such as like during the election, where between President Obama and Mitt Romney, there was a big issue in the environmental community because global warming wasn't addressed. But it's like, okay, global warming wasn't addressed. You have a problem with that. But what are you doing to try and curb it besides complaining? Now, I'm not saying that everyone does it, but I know there are a lot of people who already talk about they love the environment so much, yet the practices that they use to live their life is something that is destructive to the environment itself. Now, the only thing, now, one may say, okay, but what about you, Dishadar? What are you doing to try and help the environment? Well, me personally, I have to say, I don't have the finances for it, as far as the food's concerned, but as far as transportation, I walk. or I might take the bus and take the train. You know, rarely do I use the car, even though I'm learning to drive, so I kind of have to use it to learn to get my license and whatnot. But even then, you know, at least first you acknowledge the problem. What is the problem? We're not doing. We as Wiccans and pagans overall don't seem to be doing a lot. What what can I do to fix the problem? What can we do to fix the problem? Actually pay attention to what we eat, the kinds of companies that we buy our foods from. We have to make sure that we buy cruelty-free or, you know, organic, you know, things like that. Or, and of course, research into the companies, like I said. And it's just being more mindful and being more observant about practices that others use, because that's the best defense. Because the only way you can really influence, besides legislation or electing politicians who believe in your cause, is to vote via the dollar. For every dollar that you contribute to a company, that's essentially like one vote you're giving to them, saying, you know, this is your product. I, you know, like it, bought it. You know, that's a dollar that they can use to keep on doing what they're doing for operations, for advertising, and things like that. So, me personally, even though I don't have the finances to start buying cruelty-free and organic products, as soon as I'm able to, of course I'll do it. But in the meantime, I'm of course doing my walking. I don't take I don't even drive in a car like that. I mainly just walk or catch the bus, since that's a lot easier and it's a lot cheaper, and it has less impact on the environment. So I just think that as far as food is concerned, that in just daily life, like our transportation and food are the biggest things that contribute to this environmental issue. So I just think that we need to be a lot more proactive and actually trying to change it. Join groups, be more, be activists, actually do protests and stuff like that. But in the end, nothing will happen unless there are laws put in place. So the end game should essentially, in my opinion, be, you know, try and get politicians into the whole issue and try and get them to influence laws and stuff, so that we'll have a more just planet and live in a more environmentally sustainable way. So that's my issue with the harm none law. As as something to aspire to do, as far as like actually not harming anything, as far as, you know, not causing undue harm to something, because, you know, of course, everything what the heartbeat does, it'll eventually harm the environment some kind of way. But I mean, as far as pollution and that kind of stuff, of course, you know, that's something to aspire to. But as far as how we practice now, you know, we'll need especially on like a day-to-day basis, we'll need to change our livelihood, you know, massively, you know, because it's more than just what we do as Wiccans or pagans. It's what others do too, because they're contributing to the harm just as much as we are. The only difference is they may not have as much care as we do, but if we eventually want to have this issue of animal harm and environmental harm being done, we have to eventually take a greater, you know, we have to take a greater stand against these abusive practices and the exploitation of our planet. So, you know, we're kind of, well, all of us are really breaking the harm none law, but, you know, I just don't feel that we should be all preachy to others when we're all guilty of it in one way or another. So it's just a quick video I wanted to make, just to get my opinion out there, because it just seems so obvious, and I didn't really see anybody addressing it like that, who are Wiccan or pagan. So, you know, this is Dishadara. Thanks for watching. Have a very good day. And, oh yeah, I forgot, I have to start doing this. Please rate, post, like, subscribe, subscribe and like my video and stuff like that. So anyway, that being done and said, thanks for watching. Bye.